I have here on my screen a model of Moody. We should all recognise Moody by now. She's my Second Life tip jar. Go to edit mode, we can see she's a mesh model. She's all triangles because I've long lost the original file and I exported this back out Second Life. And as you know, Collada changes everything to triangles. But nonetheless, you see she is a mesh. And we're going to have a go at recreating her, sculpting her. Not exactly the same because it was rather fluid in the first place. Um, but you know, something similar. Okay, so up until now, when we practice sculpting, we've started with a plane. Let's move Moody off to the side there a second. We started with a plane. We subdivided it and then started to sculpt and draw the details out of the plane, which is fine. It's a good method, but it's not very practical a lot of times. Such as Moody, she's very much three-dimensional. You have a hard job pulling her out of a plane. Um, so let's delete that plane. We need something more three-dimensional. Now, a lot of sculpting tutorials you will see around will tell you to start off with a UV sphere or a cube with a subdivision modifier and things like that. Once again, all valid methods of sculpting. But I wanted to introduce you to something that we don't see a lot of or hear a lot of. Let me just go to another layer here. And what we're going to be using is metaballs. Okay. Now we have an add metaball menu option here with a few different types. Let's res a few of these out. So let's bring that one out. Shift A, metaball, a capsule is very much like a pill shape. Shift a plane. Now, as I've added this plane, see what's happened here is it's kind of fluidly attached itself to this, whatever it's called, this pill shape. But it is a separate object, and if we pull it apart, you can see how it does kind of attract and break away. Very kind of, I don't know how you describe it. It's almost like on a molecular level. Um, Capsule, that was the other one. Ellipsoid. Let's pull this across, which is very much like a ball, except it's kind of longer in one direction. And metaball, a cube, which is very much like the plane, except it's squarer, whereas the plane seems to be a flatter. So we've got these objects. If I try to edit, we're not seeing a lot happening. Uh, if I try go back to object mode, we don't see a lot happen. We're getting slightly different menus up here. Not sure. Really not sure. Okay. But however, we can kind of scale and rotate as normal. So if I was to S, I can bring this down and up. You can see how the shading and not the shape, but the shading and the makeup of it is changing as we scale. We can scale it on one axis. See there, we kind of reproduce the plane shape. We can scale it on two axes. So if I went S and Shift X, so we can kind of get these shapes. And where these are valuable to us is this kind of joining. This kind of joining property they have. So we could start to. Looks like you've got to click on the actual circle here to select it. You can start to make some kind of base shape. That's looking very much like a little Oscar statue, I suppose. Scale this down a bit. So was more like a neck. Let's bring this down. Let's grab this one. So we got a head on there. Yeah, there you go, a little statuette kind of thing. We could add arms to it, put a 3D cursor here, add another capsule, I suppose, rotate it on the Z by 90. Z90. We could scale it on everything but the Y. Make this arm, bring it in, move it up, do what we want with it. Okay, so we have these meta surfaces. Now we're not able to kind of join them, so if I select that and Control J, it's still individual objects. We can see that in our outliner here. Okay, however, if I select one, actually, if I shift select them all, and I use the Alt-C, we can change to a mesh from a meta ball, or same as we can a curve or text or whatever. So if I do that, we now have a single mesh object. If I tab it into edit mode, you can see it is a mesh. It's a mesh with a couple of problems. Let me just kind of zoom in on an area here. And turn off this background. Okay, it's a mesh. It's not a perfect mesh. It has tris and quads and odd kind of geometry, but that's okay. It gives us a good starting point. Let's delete this. Let's go back to layer 1 where Moody is. Okay, now when creating a kind of stylized character, I'm using the Moody model as a reference. You can use images and put them on planes or in the background, whatever way you want to do it. But reference images are always good when you're doing this kind of modeling. Even if it's a sketch that you made and you scanned it or whatever, it's just to give you that reference. But anyway, for those who want to kind of follow on and try making Moody, I'm just going to put her in a few different positions here so you can take screenshots and then load them. So that would be the front. Let me select her. It wouldn't be the front, it would be the side actually. This would be the front, so I'll leave that there for a second so you screenshot it. That's the other side, which is identical but reversed. That's the rear. And that's the top. Okay, so you can screenshot that if you wish. Or make your own. Right, so when we're looking at this, let me just grab my tablet here a second. Rearrange some stuff on my desk. Right, so if we kind of look at this in a simple form, is this going to work? No, it's not. Okay, what we have is we can kind of break her up into blocks. Okay, so that'll be the body. We've got the upper part of the leg here. Lower part of the leg. We've got an upper part of the front legs, kind of a square there. Lower legs, we got a kind of a angled square for the head. Another one for the snout. So we could start to build this shape up with come on, there we go. With meta shapes or meta surfaces or meta balls, sorry, Shift C. Let's so for example, I'll just reset my cursor here, and we could start to build a body up. So Shift A. Let's add a capsule for the body. I can scale that down a bit. More kind of body size. Grab it and move it. Okay. Let's go to the front view. Probably needs to be a bit bigger, so scale it kind of there. You can sort some of this. Scale it down a bit. Some of these dimensions out later. It's kind of stylized. I could, well, a couple of ways to do this. I could duplicate this one, but I'm not going to add a cube type one. Okay, let's scale this right the way down. Okay, somewhere about there. I'm going to scale it in on the X. And what I'm looking at making this hind quarter here. So let me grab this, pull this up. It's obviously too far into the middle of the object, so let me go into a top view and start to pull this out. So now we're getting this hind quarter type of thing. Let's add another one of these cubes, scale it right the way down. Scale it not on the Z. Let's bring it up here. Let's come to the top view. Let's bring it out to the edge of the hind quarter. Bring that up. I can bring that up in. Starting to make this hind leg kind of shape. Okay, I'm not going to worry about doing the other side at the minute. I'll show you why in a minute. Okay, I could probably Shift D that one along the X-axis to bring it out to the front leg. Probably scale it in a bit, but not on the Z. Make that a little bit smaller. Probably take this one. Is that the right one? Nope. Okay, might be difficult to select this one. Yep, that's the one. I could Shift D that one on the X and move that across to kind of bring in the front leg. The front leg comes at an angle here, so let's rotate that a little. Probably needs to go a bit higher. Might need to come out a little bit. Just a touch. Okay. We need something for the head here, so I'm just going to move my 3D cursor over here. Add another cube. Cube, ellipsoid. Let's try an ellipsoid. Scale that down quite a bit. Okay, let's rotate that so it's kind of at the head angle. Let's grab it and bring it up here. This is more in the center. Let's go to top view. We want the head wider than these kind of shoulders, so S on the Y-axis. Bring this out a bit so we're getting a bit of a neck in there. As this is pulling apart, you see how it's pulling kind of like that neck in. Probably a bit too wide. SY. Okay. We're starting to get that. Bit of a snap. Well, we way too kind of thick on the X, so SX. Let's bring this in again. A little bit of a head there. What's going on down here, which is okay, well, not much we can do about that at the minute. We can sculpt that in later. Let's add another plane type object. Let's scale this right the way down. Let's kind of rotate it a bit and grab it up to start to form the muzzle. Okay. These seem to be in order, so I imagine 6 and 5. If I shift select them, And scale on the Y, they should scale together. Yep. So we've got that narrower head. And you see already in a few short minutes we've got this basic blocky shape of Moody here. This is going to be a lot quicker and a lot better than kind of making prim shapes, or not prim shapes, but mesh shapes, and using booleans and you know, dragging. That's still a valid method. Don't get it wrong. And if you're happy with that, by all means, go for it. But this Metaballs is kind of a lot quicker for just blocking out these rough, basic shapes and getting it fairly accurate. I mean, for a few minutes, this is recognizable, starting to be recognizable as a cow. Okay, we're gonna stop there and have a talk through this, and we'll come back after.